So, welcome back to another episode of the where I make a build for every single Freddy Krueger in the Nightmare franchise, with the caveat that I am not allowed to use any duplicate perks, nor am I allowed to use Freddy's teachable perks. And the Freddy we're going to be doing today is from Wes Craven's New Nightmare, one of the best movies in the entire franchise. First on our build, we have Ravenous. The thing about this version of Freddy is that it's not actually Freddy Krueger. It is a demon who takes the form of Freddy after being trapped for so long within the Nightmare franchise, who's noted at being darker and more evil than Freddy has ever been.
No, it isn't you. He's scarier. He's
darker, more evil.
And he plans on breaking through into the real world to terrorize the entire planet. But there's one thing that he has to go through first, and that is Heather Langenkamp, or Nancy Thompson, which leads into my next perk, Turn Back the Clock. How this demon plans on breaking through into the real world is he tries to blur the lines between fiction and reality, transforming everybody who was involved in the original Nightmare movie into their fictional counterparts. Robert Englund disappears halfway through the movie and becomes this Freddy Krueger. Heather's house is turned into the Elm Street house, John Saxton becomes Officer Thompson, and Heather Langenkamp transforms into the ultimate final girl, Nancy Thompson. For our next perk, we have Coup de Grace. Wes Craven tells Heather Langenkamp that the only way to stop this demonic entity is if she plays Nancy one last time. Since she was the first person to ever humiliate Freddy within the movies, she's the only one that could put an end to Freddy once and for all. And for our final perk, we have All Shaking Thunder, because earthquakes. Lots and lots of earthquakes. Anyways, that's about it for the build. Now let's get on to the likes and dislikes. Let's get into the likes and dislikes for Wes Craven's New Nightmare, and for my very first like, I have the meta aspect of this movie. One of the things I really like about this movie is how they kind of blend the lines between both fiction and reality. It doesn't take place in a fictional universe like Springwood with Freddy Krueger and Nancy Thompson like, any other Nightmare movie. It actually takes place in our reality in Hollywood with Robert Englund, with Heather Langenkamp, with Wes Craven playing as themselves in this sort of kind of fictional movie, which I really like. It's extremely interesting to actually see these guys live out their lives as they would in real life. Like, we get to follow Heather Langenkamp in her daily life, where she goes behind sets with her husband, which I don't think is actually a fact about her, but it kind of shows a little bit of what Hollywood is like. We get to see her going on interviews. We also see the bad stuff about it, like with the whole stalker situation in this movie. We also get to see Robert Englund doing his little paintings in his own house. We get to go to Wes Craven's house and see him kind of brainstorming the script. Like, these aspects of Hollywood I have always been extremely interested in, and it's really cool to actually see it on screen. And going back to the whole Wes Craven stuff, there are also actors in this movie who are not typically actors, but they're more of like people who actually are within the Elm Street franchise, but also not on camera. Like, for example, I think his name's Robert Shea, the owner of New Line Cinema. We get to see him acting as himself in this movie, which is really damn cool. And he also did a really good job as well, not especially Wes Craven, but as well as Wes Craven. Like, they don't stand out among like Robert Englund or Heather Langenkamp, but they did a good job regardless of them not actually being actors. I mean, Robert Shea was in Freddy's Dead as like a ticket booth guy, but he kind of was playing a very zany and very out-of-pocket character. But here, playing as himself, he did a pretty good job. Wes Craven also did a good job with what he was doing. He was a little stiff here and there, but he was fine. But one of the cool meta, I guess, aspects of this movie is the whole earthquake stuff, because one of the main plot points of this movie is that there's occasional earthquakes, and really bad ones as well, that kind of just, throw people off their feet every so often. Because, the demon who is trying to become Freddy is trying to break through into reality, and doing that, it kind of causes these earthquakes. But the thing about it is that during the filming, or like before the filming, I don't know, around this time of this filming, there was actually some really bad earthquakes in Los Angeles, I believe specifically, and they actually got the footage from those earthquakes and put them in the movie as if it was like a special effects thing, which, like, dude, like the coincidence to have earthquakes in the movie, or maybe they put it after they made this, I don't know. Having the whole earthquake aspect and also putting real earthquakes or the damage from real earthquakes in the movie is a really, really nice touch to kind of blur the lines between reality even further. For my next like, I have Freddy Krueger, or I guess the demon who is LARPing as Freddy Krueger, I should say. One thing I don't like about this Freddy though, before we actually get into what I do like, is I really don't like how this Freddy looks all that much. I feel like this look is a little too artificial and clean. It kind of looks like an action figure almost. I don't really like it all that much. Like, his clothes are a little too clean for me when, I'm used to Freddy having a very tattered up and grimy look. Like, there's oil stains all over his sweater and there's holes in his jeans, his fedora's lopsided. Don't really like that all that much. I do like the trench coat. The trench coat is a nice touch to Freddy, but then everything else just looks a little too nice in my opinion. And also, it's very tight on his body as well, which gives kind of like makes him look a little bulky rather than the skinny, lanky, cat-like Freddy we saw in the movies. Also, his face is a little too artificial in my opinion, and I understand it's just a demon pretending to be Freddy. It's not like Freddy himself, who's an actual burn victim. But at the same time, could you do a little better job at actually looking like you were a burn victim? Just a little bit. I don't know if it's just me, but he just doesn't fit the part in my opinion. And also, the thumb claw. I don't know why, but I hate the fucking thumb claw. But my dislikes about this Freddy aside, I do like how they took a step back from the jokey one-liner Freddy that we got in Nightmares 4, 5, and 6, and they brought it back to how he was in Nightmare 1, 2, and 3, where his jokes are not just jokes just for the sake of winking at the audience. His jokes are directed at his victims and is meant to disturb them, not to, get a laugh out of them. Like, for example, when Freddy is in the hospital room with Julie and with Dylan, and he's attacking his babysitter, he looks at the kid and says, "Hey kid, ever play skin the cat?" And then guts his babysitter like a fucking fish, which is terrifying, dude. It's not just a joke for the sake of being a joke. But you can really feel how evil this Freddy is, especially through his actions, like with how he messed with Heather throughout this entire film, with killing her husband, with all the prank calls, targeting her son specifically, making him have all these nightmares, and making him seem like he's had some hereditary mental illness or something like that passed down from Heather. Making her feel crazy and making everybody around her think that she is crazy, like the doctors, John Saxton, I think Wes Craven as well, I can't remember. And especially during that highway scene where Freddy is hoisting Dylan above traffic and toying with him a little bit. And you'd imagine that as a parent, your kid is being held above traffic and there's literally nothing you could do about it. I mean, she even got hit by a fucking car trying to get to Dylan to save him. Like, she was put through so much shit from this Freddy. And speaking of Heather Langenkamp, my next like is her. And I think she did a terrific job in this movie. I haven't seen a lot of Heather Langenkamp movies, but I would not doubt that this is probably one of her best ones of all time, even better than the original Nightmare on Elm Street. Like I mentioned before, I do enjoy seeing the behind the scenes of Hollywood, seeing her day-to-day life where she's going to interviews, she's going behind the scenes, she's meeting up with her co-workers, and they're like buddies. I don't know if that's actually true in real life, like she's actually friends with Robert Englund or John Saxton, and John Saxton is like a father figure to her, like he was in the first Nightmare on Elm Street movie. I don't think that's entirely true, but regardless, that's pretty damn cool to think about. And I also like how she feels very much like Nancy Thompson, but in real life, like she's actually Nancy Thompson IRL. She's very spunky, very resourceful, very feisty. Like, I really like her performance in this movie. I like her dynamic with her son and how she actually feels like a caring and loving mother. Like, Heather Langenkamp was the fucking bomb in this movie. Easily the best character out of everybody. Even Freddy Krueger. I think she's actually better than Freddy Krueger himself in this movie. I think my favorite scene from Heather in this movie is when she's going to go save Dylan after Freddy kidnapped her, and he's manipulating reality and turning everything into the original Nightmare film so he can do his little Freddy Krueger live action role play. Like I said, manipulating reality, turning her house into the Elm Street house, turning John Saxton into her dad from the original Nightmare movie. You hear the Nightmare theme in the background. She was wearing her pajamas from that movie and making John Saxton say, "I love you, sweetie, don't forget that." And then Freddy anticipating her, playing along, going with the script, and then she says, "I love you too, daddy." and then the smile on Freddy's face when that happens, and then the rest of the film happens. It's honestly one of the coolest scenes in the Nightmare franchise, in my opinion. Speaking of that scene, my very last like is the third act of this film. Now, I don't mean the entire third act, because I actually don't really like the very ending of this, where Heather is fighting Freddy in his hell lair. I don't really like all that because I feel like it's a little goofy, but everything from when Dylan is put to sleep and then Freddy comes out, kills Jules, to the highway scene, to the part where Freddy is manipulating reality and making Nancy play ball, like all of that is really, really fucking cool. Like, for example, Jules' kill is fucking brutal, dude. Not more brutal than the Tina kill from the original movie, because that's what it's kind of representing. Putting Dylan in the shoes of Rod as he watches his babysitter being gutted like a fish is just a horrifying thought to think about, especially if I were to have a kid and I knew they were put into that situation. I would never fucking forgive myself. And the highway scene, even though a little bit of it was a little goofy, like the whole crowd of Freddy's coming at the edge of the fence with those goofy ass looking fucking masks. Oh my god, it looks horrible. But the whole Freddy in the sky though, that was pretty cool. Even though the CGI wasn't really all that great, it was still a cool scene nonetheless. And then, like I mentioned before, the whole Freddy manipulating reality, like all that was just so goddamn cool, man. But I can say this is probably one of the better third acts in the franchise. Like, these films really don't have very good third acts, especially later on in the franchise with Nightmare 4, 5, and 6. Like, those third acts are just really not that great and don't make a lot of sense. There are good aspects of them, but this one, almost all the way through, was a pretty damn good third act. Moving on to the dislikes, and for my only dislike about this movie, I have the end sequence, and I didn't like it all that much because I felt it was a little out of place for this kind of movie. Like throughout this movie, we're in the real world, we're living life like through our own reality, and then we get transported to this demon dimension, and then everything just goes downhill from there. And also, the special effects is it's not all that great. Like when Heather, I guess, is it Nancy or Heather? I'll say Nancy Heather falls into the demon dimension, and then the special effects for that, of the whole landscape, and then it just doesn't look all that great. It kind of reminds me of Freddy's Dead with the whole 3D sequence with Freddy's big ass fucking head coming in and munching you, and the sperm demons, and it just doesn't look all that great. The only special effects that I did like from this sequence is probably the part where Freddy is like extending his arm really long to grab Dylan. That's probably the only one that I actually do like, but then everything else just doesn't look all that great. Like Freddy's death sequence was horrible, with the whole claymation of him turning into a demon and the PNG fucking fire things coming up and killing him. Ugh. The tongue sequence also really wasn't all that great. Like, it's nasty, it's grimy, I guess, but it just doesn't look all that great. And also, I think during the actual fight sequence, I think Robert Englund's latex mask was actually scrunching up on his forehead, and you can actually see the latex mask like kind of coming off of his face a little bit. I don't know. I feel like this whole end sequence just is like really rushed. The one other thing I don't like about this ending is I don't like how bitch made this Freddy looks. Like, we were hyping this Freddy up to be this like really badass and really evil motherfucker who can't be trifled with, and then they just, you know, bitch slap him all over the place. Like, Nancy shoves a snake or an evil eel into his eyes and he's squirming in pain. Dylan stabs a knife in his leg, he's crying out in pain. I thought this was a fucking demon. And then he has a limp for the rest of the movie. He can't fit himself into like a small little doorway to grab Dylan. He somehow gets pushed into the fucking furnace. Like, this Freddy was not intimidating whatsoever. It was just such a change of pace. And why was he not able to like use his full dream powers in this dimension specifically, or his demon powers in this dimension specifically? Like, it just didn't really make all that sense. I feel like he should have just one-shot all of them. Like, a little kid and a fucking mother, you can't do anything about them? Okay, Freddy, okay. But that's really about it. Thankfully, that's the only really bad part about Wes Craven's New Nightmare. But let's move on to the Loomis meter. If you don't know what this is, it's a scale from 1 to 6.
I shot him 6 times!
1 being bad and 6 being amazing. And for Wes Craven's New Nightmare, I will be giving it a 5 times out of 6. I do apologize if this review is kind of just lackluster. I am a little sick right now. I'm still getting over my little head cold that I've been getting, so apologize for that. But Wes Craven's New Nightmare is a very fun movie to watch. It does take a little bit to actually get started. Like, you don't even see Freddy until like the first hour of the movie, but it's a very cool kind of glimpse into what it's like in Hollywood. I don't know if it's like one-to-one like it is in Hollywood, but it's cool to see all the interviews and see the behind the scenes, see the producers, see Wes Craven. It's really, really cool to actually see those aspects of Hollywood. The Freddy's okay. He's a lot more mean in this movie, so if you like that, then I do recommend it. Nancy, or Heather, I suppose, is phenomenal in this movie. Robert Englund is himself, which you know it's obviously going to be good. Dylan is a pretty good child actor as well. Just overall, it's a really damn good movie, and I do highly recommend it. So, but yeah, let me know what you thought about Wes Craven's New Nightmare in the comments down below.
God damn you.